Long ago, in the darkest times of the Middle Ages, there was an abandoned castle hidden among the high mountains. People called it the Cursed Castle because no one who entered ever came out. One day, a brave knight named Sir Aldrik decided to challenge the castle. According to legends, a great treasure was hidden inside, but escaping from the castle was impossible. Sir Aldrik put on his heavy armor, lit his torch, and pushed open the castle's giant doors. The doors creaked as they closed behind him, plunging the castle into total darkness. The knight walked down long corridors, but no matter how far he went, he always ended up back where he started. It was as if the castle was alive and refused to let him leave. After some time, he noticed strange writings carved into the ancient stone walls. They were in an old language, but he managed to decipher part of it. "Salvation lies in the path of light." Realizing the meaning of these words, Sir Aldrik raised his torch and looked around. Among the dark corridors, he noticed a faint light shining through a crack in one of the walls. He immediately walked towards it and placed his hand on the stone. The stone slightly shifted inward, and with a deep rumbling sound, a hidden passage opened. As soon as he stepped through the passage, he found a staircase leading downward. But just then, the stone door behind him slammed shut. The knight had no choice but to move forward. He continued through the dark tunnels and eventually reached a grand hall. In the center of the hall stood an ancient stone table, and on it lay a rusted key. The moment he picked up the key, the ceiling began to tremble. Sir Aldrik rushed to a massive stone door and inserted the key into the lock. The door slowly creaked open, and fresh air hit his face. At last, he had escaped the castle, but when he turned around, the castle suddenly disappeared into the mist. Had he truly been inside a castle? Or had it all been a trick of some dark magic? He would never know. Sir Aldrik had escaped the castle, but its sudden disappearance into the mist troubled him. Without wasting time, he mounted his horse and rode toward the nearest village. He had to speak with Master Magnus, the village's wise elder, and uncover the truth. After days of travel, he finally arrived. The villagers stared at him in shock. No one had ever returned from the cursed castle before. As they whispered among themselves, Sir Aldrik walked straight to Master Magnus's house. "Master Magnus, I must tell you what happened. Is the castle truly cursed? I don't understand how I survived." The old sage stroked his long white beard and spoke in a grave voice. "Your escape was no accident, Sir Aldrik. Only one other person has ever left that castle alive, but no one knows what became of him." Sir Aldric's eyes widened. Who was he? An ancient king. His name was King Aldric. Long ago, that castle was the grandest stronghold of his kingdom, but one day, he was betrayed. His most trusted friend conspired against him and made a deal with dark sorcerers, cursing the castle. King Aldric was never seen again. But there is a legend. What legend? Sir Aldrik asked eagerly. The legend says the castle is actually a living prison. It traps those who enter for eternity. But since you escaped, perhaps the castle did not release you. Perhaps it chose you. A shiver ran down Sir Aldric's spine. He had escaped the castle, yes, but had he truly been freed? That night, he couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the castle's dark corridors. A whisper echoed in his mind. "Return, find the true treasure." When he awoke at dawn, cold sweat covered his face. He whispered to himself, "My journey isn't over yet." Determined, he mounted his horse and rode back toward the cursed castle, but this time, he had no idea what awaited him. Sir Aldrik rode through the dense forests and rocky hills, making his way back to the cursed castle. The whispers in his mind grew louder with every step, urging him to return. As he reached the spot where the castle once stood, his heart pounded. The mist was thick, swirling unnaturally, but the castle was nowhere to be seen. Had it truly disappeared? Then, out of nowhere, the ground trembled. The mist parted, revealing the towering silhouette of the castle, as if it had materialized from the shadows. The massive stone doors creaked open on their own, inviting him inside. "It was waiting for me," Aldric muttered. Taking a deep breath, he stepped forward. The moment he crossed the threshold, the doors slammed shut behind him. This time, he did not flinch. He knew there was no turning back. As he ventured deeper into the castle, the air grew colder. The corridors no longer twisted endlessly as before. Instead, they led him straight to a grand hall with a massive throne. A figure sat upon it, cloaked in darkness. Aldric gripped his sword. "Who are you?" he demanded. The figure slowly lifted its head, revealing the face of a man pale, with hollow eyes that glowed faintly. "I am King Aldric." Aldric gasped. "You survived?" The king shook his head. "No, never left this place. My soul is bound to the castle, trapped for eternity. And now, so is yours." A cold dread filled Aldric's chest. "No, I escaped once. I can do it again." King Aldric's ghostly form stood, his gaze piercing. "You do not understand. The castle let you go so you could return. You were chosen to end the curse." "How?" Aldric asked. The king raised a skeletal hand and pointed toward a hidden passage behind the throne. "Beyond that door lies the heart of the castle, the source of its dark power. If you destroy it, the curse will be broken. But be warned, the castle will not let you succeed easily." Determined, Aldric entered the hidden passage. The air grew heavier with each step, as if invisible hands were trying to pull him back. Then, suddenly, the torches along the walls flared with eerie blue flames, casting flickering shadows. But these were no ordinary shadows. They moved on their own. They were alive. Figures emerged from the darkness, knights clad in spectral armor, their hollow eyes glowing like the king's. The cursed warriors of the castle, doomed to guard its secret forever. Aldric drew his sword, ready to fight. "If I must battle the dead to free their souls, so be it." The knights lunged at him, their ghostly blades clashing against his steel. Aldric fought fiercely, dodging their strikes and countering with swift blows. But no matter how many he struck down, more rose to take their place. The whispers grew deafening. "You cannot win. Give in. Join us." Aldric was growing weary. His strength was fading, and the shadows were closing in. But then, he remembered the king's words, the heart of the castle. He turned and sprinted down the corridor, evading the phantom knights. Ahead, a massive door loomed, pulsing with dark energy. He pushed it open and found himself in a vast chamber. At its center stood an ancient obsidian crystal, swirling with black mist. The castle's heart. With the last of his strength, Aldric raised his sword high. "This ends now," he roared, bringing the blade down with all his might. The moment the sword struck the crystal, a deafening scream echoed through the castle. The ground shook violently, and cracks spread across the walls. The phantom knights let out anguished cries as they dissolved into light. Aldric shielded his eyes as the entire castle trembled. Then, in an instant, everything went silent. When he opened his eyes, he was standing in an open field. The castle was gone, vanished completely. The sky was clear, and the air was warm. He had done it. The curse was broken, but as he turned to leave, a faint whisper lingered in the wind. "Thank you." Aldric smiled. King Aldric was finally free. With a victorious heart, he mounted his horse and rode toward the horizon, leaving behind the legend of the cursed castle, now nothing more than a fading memory.